Hey there, my name is Pravus. Welcome to more Kingdoms Reborn, playing as the Emirates in, just the Emirates land over here. So in the last video, we have been greatly expanding not only our housing, but also some of our luxury industrial capacity. The new thing that we're working toward is gold. We are going to be smelting up a whole load of gold bars using the gold ore that we have been harvesting from various different points all across the map, and there's a lot more that we'll still be able to access if I so desire. The idea here is now we need to start finding some form of a tier 3 luxury, because I need these houses to get beyond level 6 in order to start really taking advantage of the income and the science. So our options are books, fashionable clothes, jewelry, chocolate, pocket watches, and toilet paper, which is a level 3 luxury if ever I ever heard one. That's amazing. So I'm pretty sure gold primarily would be going something like jewelry. So if we had gold, we might be able to turn that into jewelry by itself. I also am going to have access to gems because we are able to mine some of that off in this direction. And of course, we could always just set up some more colonies in any of these gem provinces. Well, okay, not the ones that are controlled by my puppet, but you get the idea. These 3 over here, and we'd easily be able to start getting materials necessary. So if we can do that, get up to level 7 houses, I'll feel pretty happy about today's progress. So now that we have access to goldsmithing, we would be able to take all those gold bars I am producing and turn that directly into money. But with the power of capitalism, I don't really feel like I need to bother minting my own coins. It just doesn't seem that important. So I'm going to go ahead and research that bank, which would get me another 50% income. And believe it or not, that actually would be a pretty hefty amount of extra money, at least a few thousand if we do that right. But also, you take both of these, that gets me the jewelry, so we can go for gemstones and gold bars and turn that into our first tier luxury good. No mint, not necessary. Oh, we completed a quest. We produced 1,000 beer over in my colony, New Emirate. Cool, so we get a card, Master Brewer. I don't know what that does. It probably increases how much we brew. Let's see. Yep, 30% efficiency. We can toss that into our extra slot over here, and ba-boom! All of a sudden, New Emirate is going to be producing ridiculous amounts of beer. 8 wheat become 21 beer each. And I have 1,500 spare wheat to go here. So yeah, this'll do just fine. I may want to send a bunch of concrete over here just to boost up the work speed so we have even more. You know what's really sad, though? I so very strongly regret getting romanticism as one of my special boosts for my entire civilization. Attractiveness, huh? Man, what was I thinking? I forgot how easy it is to get attractiveness up if you're willing to just plant a frick ton of shrubs. Should have done that sooner, because instead, if we had gotten rationalism, you know how much science we'd have? Way more than this. Way more science. We'd be progressing this game at a much faster pace. Well, you live and you learn. So we can finally place down some banks. I'm actually going to get rid of a few houses here and there in order to build these. Know that these houses are worth about 272 gold on their own. You go ahead and build at the bank real quick, and all of a sudden they're worth 394. So thus, we cross over the 51,000 threshold. I'm making about 3,500 gold out of a bank. I do have a second one set up over here, but it barely counts. These guys are producing practically nothing until some luxuries arrive. So, yeah, banks are effective, very, very effective if you're looking to get yourself a whole lot of money, which of course I am, because money is king. I am the trade meister, after all. Okay, it took like 30 minutes, but we finally have researched the jewelry, my god. Rationalism might be a little too good. You think? Maybe just a little bit too good if you are really so slow if you don't pick it up. Dear God, all right. Well, let's see, what else can we get here? Conglomerate upkeep for trading companies reduced. Doesn't matter too much. More industrial productivity could be nice in some ways. Fashionable cloth. Unlocks new work mode. 400,000 science. Oh my god. Tanks and battleships. Yeah, oh, that looks pretty cool. Housing appeal, industrial production. I'm sure a lot of this stuff is really good. But when we're talking almost 1 million science, and I don't have rationalism, I'm rich, but I'm a big dum-dum at the same time. Like, that just seems to be how it works. I guess I can go for something like Conglomerate and get Wine Snob. Why not? Here's what I really need, though. Research lab. Use paper in order to just straight out generate science. Now, the reason this is going to work well for us is I can just buy a stupid amount of paper all the time if I have to, and just keep feeding paper into the research lab, a whole bunch of them, which basically means I can turn my exceptional wealth into exceptional smart. right? That's what I'm going for, so that's what we're going to have to do. We do now have access to these fantastic jewelers. I've got a lot of gold bars. We might need more gold smelteries later, but at least for the moment, I can afford to do this. So let's set up at least 4 of these jewelry workshops and see how we're looking as far as production. But obviously, the goal is ultimately to work my way up to having a full 8. Okay, each one of these takes a pretty massive number of bricks to fully upgrade, which is going to be a little unpleasant, but that's fine. So with only 4 of them, plus a productivity book and a sustainability book, we're taking 27 gold bars and 27 gems and turning those into 69 jewelry. It's not too bad, pretty nice even. However, it's going to get even better because once I have level 7 houses, we'll be able to boost up that productivity. If we produce enough, that's another 55% production efficiency that's tossed on top of this. So we'll see how things look once I start producing them, but once I have enough jewelry going out, I just produce more jewelry. It's perfect. We have our first round of level 7 houses coming out, and they're pretty good. I mean, this house is jumping up to about 142 science, now up to 166 over here. So yeah, all the houses that are located somewhat close to the jewelers are going to be getting upgraded first, but here's a whole load of level 7 houses. The thing is, even with all of that being said and done, I mean, we've only managed to eke out, you know, a few hundred, maybe another 1,000 or 2 extra science. Maybe it's more like that. Maybe more like 3,000. Regardless, the point is, still nowhere near enough. I'm now working on the research lab, so that's a thing. But yeah, it's going to be a bit, and I'm going to need a stupid amount of paper, an absolutely stupid amount of paper. The thing about paper is you have to set it up next to water, right? We found that out before over here. We've been producing as much paper over here as we can in order to produce a whole bunch of these books. And that is working, it's nice. But for some reason, I have nobody working over here because of a production limit. Tell you what, we'll go ahead and turn that sucker off so people keep working forever. And if we can produce loads and loads of paper and just start producing tons and tons of science, I think that's the only way I get out of my slump. It's my only option. Now, it's funny, I can't actually see how much jewelry we have because for whatever reason, the tier 3 luxuries are stuck. I seem to have too many resources and I literally can't scroll down far enough to see them. But looking through some of my trade, I did happen to notice that we've apparently got about 1,000 just sitting around, which means we're actually overproducing on jewelry, which is a good problem to have. So what I think we do is we go ahead and just start selling some of the excess and enjoy a ridiculous amount of even more money. It's funny, by the way, remember how I said earlier we had exponential growth for our population? Yeah, this is what it looks like now. Man, just when I think I can't climb any higher, there we go! Whee! How are we doing on food? We are consuming a ridiculous amount of food, but we're sort of holding in there simply by virtue of the fact that I'm rich as frick. Good lord. Okay, the research lab is finally done. Excellent. I'd like to learn how to make chocolate next, probably. Chocolatier should be easy for me to do. What we'll need to do is import a load of milk, but I'm already producing a whole mess of cocoa using those resource outposts placed throughout the world. So we got a lot of that to work with. That'll be fine. And then after we get the cattle ranch, I mean, hey, dairy cows. No problem. We can do that. So the real thing that we need now is a lot of research labs. And I mean a lot of them. I am going to be dumping pretty much as much money into this as I am allowed to. So we'll place down some over there, and we'll place down a bunch. What I basically did was set up some additional housing, plus some trading centers, just to make sure we're importing enough paper, plus some warehouses to store said paper, so I can do nothing but produce research over here. Tons and tons of it. Let's start with 6, and see just how much this is going to impact my civilization. Okay, so the research lab is here. It says that 34 paper can be converted into 2,000 science. So every 34 paper is another 10% of my science, is what you're saying, and that's before I even get this upgraded. More tools, more productivity, and get a bunch of these. Okay, so if we have 8 of these, we also get some benefits. Well, perfect. Then I'm absolutely going to do a minimum of 8 of these. So 30 summit paper suddenly becomes almost 4,000 science. Okay, yeah, this is going to help. This makes up for the gap by a pretty hefty margin. It's unfortunate it takes a very, very, very long time to get to this point, but once you get there, you're going to find that you've got lots of science coming in. The only downside that I'm seeing with these is that it does take a very, very long time for them to actually get their full usage. So you can see here that even after we deliver all the paper, the work speed is just slow. I can boost it, of course, using this, like we would with any other resource, but it's only ever going to do me so much. I could toss in some productivity books, and that would get me at least a tiny bit of extra value out of that. All right, so unless I place down like 16 of these, I'm not sure it's going to make quite the level of difference that I might have hoped for, but considering how important science is at this stage of the game to actually go anywhere, I'm thinking 16 doesn't sound as unreasonable as you might think, so we're probably going to do something kind of like that, if I'm completely honest. Once I have access to electricity, I suspect all of this is going to end up being a fair bit better. So we have our first round of chocolatiers, excellent. We also now have the cattle ranches, that's great. We could get some zoos, slot animal cards to get bonuses. I do not recall what this does. Crop breeding is going to be nice, museum, slot artifact cards. See, I knew about the artifact cards in the museum, so basically whenever you have cards that you no longer need, for example, some of your government policies you would use at the city hall, you can just toss them in there and it just gives you a small stream of money, which I don't really care about, given that I'm getting close to about 100,000 gold per cycle, so that's not too important to me. But animal cards? I don't really know what that does, if I'm completely honest with you. We could work towards some other stuff. Steel, concrete. The thing is, all of these are expensive too. What are some things that I've passed on so far that I really need? We could get more production for wine, productivity per level, melon. Don't need fashion. Here we go. 50% science in houses with books, but they consume 3 times more books. This would take a very, 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 very long time for me to research, but if I could start producing massive amounts of books, this would be pretty good for me. I think for now we'll go back into the tech and we'll go ahead and start working on things like machinery, so I'll have access to tunnels, and then eventually I can move on to industrialization. And these should be pretty quick for me. But yeah, that's something we'll want to get into at some point. In the meantime, I need chocolate and I need cattle. What that means is I'm going to turn this area, tear down all the jungles, and turn it into a massive ranching spot. Something that seems to be slightly bugged. Might be wrong on this. This ranch says that the house is too far. There's a house literally right next door to you. I don't see how that's possible, but okay. I did make use of money to just go ahead and fill these out with huge numbers of cows, so now we'll start producing lots of milk. I mean, granted, yeah, I could instead just buy the milk, but like, nah, we'll just go ahead and we'll just have at least some modicum of at least appearing to be self-sufficient. It's just more fun that way, right? So let's take a look at these chocolatiers. 20 cocoa and only 4 milk, with no sustainability required, is somehow going to turn into 72 chocolate. Wow. All right, that is an exceptional profit margin, and we're going to have way more milk than I think I know what to do with, but that's fine. Extra food is still extra food. And this is going to get even better if I do research things like the chocolate snob technology, which we'll get as soon as we're done with machinery. Oh, the lag, it's so bad. As soon as we get the machinery and stuff, we can do that, and that's going to boost things up even higher. So where was it? Chocolate snob? Yeah, 30% more productivity comes out of that as well. Holy crud, dude. We're going to make so much chocolate. That's going to be a really nice tier 3. Oh, for some reason we can't see jewelry, but we can see chocolate. Weird. Anyway, gives me some idea what we're actually producing. What do we need to get up to level 8 houses? 3 types. 3 types then. Okay, so we'll have 2 down. So that means I need to figure out what we're going to do for another luxury. My vote? Books. Lots of books. Not only so we can get everything up to level 8, which gets me even more value, but because we know that there are cards that will allow us to get 50% more science out of houses with books, and that is a pretty good amount of science. We like that. So yeah, I think that has to be our next goal. I have absolutely no idea how long this video has been going so far. I'm going to keep going for a bit longer because I suspect it's going to be a pretty short video if I don't, but yeah. I apologize, by the way, about that like a few videos ago where I just had a very short video. It was like 18 minutes long. Not my intention, but you can understand whenever you're doing long jump cuts and it's hard to tell what the heck is going on these days, right? And the game's running really slow. It's hard to know how long my videos have been. So I have to eyeball it. And it turns out I'm not always good at that. I make mistakes. Oh my god, I've got 6,000 jewelry? Frick me! And that stuff's worth 100 gold each. All right, every tick, go ahead and just offload like another 1,000 of it. Oh man, we're gonna make some serious cash now. Serious cash. I'm a little bit worried about our food situation. You can see here we have really massive spikes of food purchases. Really, that's why our green line there is jaggedy so much, is we're draining it down pretty quick, and then we're just buying huge amounts, and I just kind of boosted that even higher, so now we're buying even more food. But our food consumption rate, hello autosave, there we go. Food consumption rate has grown almost exponentially as well. So, yeah, scary, very scary. I think we'll be okay. I hope we'll be okay. But I'm not loving it. Now, I'll say I think that the food would be a complete non-issue if I could find some tiles where our natural resource we could extract with the resource outpost would be some sort of food. That way we would just start producing passively, without using any workers, massive amounts of food. For some reason, this is just refusing to set down. Don't know what's going on with that, but all right. Grapes are the only thing I know of that does that. So I can basically just start harvesting massive amounts of excess grapes. Even if I don't turn it all into wine, it's still at least a passive food that all we're doing is spending influence to obtain. And you can see that I am still making ridiculous amounts of influence, so I'm not feeling too worried about that. So that's kind of my only option for just gaining food outside of buying it outright. Wish I had better choices, but okay. I think chocolate should count as both a luxury and a food. That, to me, would make a lot of sense. Let's go ahead and start researching industrialization. Produce the iron bars on an industrial scale, plus steel, plus 20% more industrial outputs, and I think that might apply to all of my luxury-producing buildings and stuff, or maybe if not those, then at least some of my generic resources, which should be sufficient for me. Man, I just don't really need a lot of these cards. Now that we're making our own wild cards, by the way, I've got plenty of these coming in, so we pretty much never have to worry about this again, I don't think. Anyway, still trying to get as much of this science going as possible. We got a whole bunch of these research labs, and I've had to set down a lot more of these auto traders because you can see here, as we continue increasing our total trade amount, we're still finding things to buy. For example, food. We know that we need a ridiculous amount of food, so that's what we're doing. We're buying huge amounts. What is going on with all my paper, by the way? I still have yet to figure out the rhyme or reason as to where resources appear when you buy them via the auto trade. For example, I want the paper to all appear over here, but instead I've been watching people come from somewhere else in town, can't quite pinpoint where exactly, and delivering it over here. Don't know why, because I want storage specifically full of paper just so we can have some hauling people immediately drop resources off over here, but that's just not how it's working, for some reason. But okay. And you know one thing that's crazy, even though we have over 1,000 population, and by the way, every time I build a house, like, it fills out in practically no time at all, thanks to this many immigration offices, I still only have 2 spare laborers. Unless winter comes, then I have lots of people to work, but I'm still have nowhere near enough people to do everything I would want to do. Because the obvious solution to my current food threat is to start importing a lot more wheat flour and simply start mass producing a lot more pitas, right? That's the easiest thing for me to do. But that takes workers. And amazingly, I don't have spare workers despite how much I've expanded my residential. I mean, look at all of this. It's ridiculous. And there's the industrialization done. Okay, concrete. No, paper mill. Mass produce the paper from wood. That's probably a lot better than what I have been using up to this point, ain't it? What I don't remember is if these special mills are going to require electricity in order to make use of them. It's possible. I guess regardless, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and learn about how to make our own concrete. I don't plan on actually doing anything with this. I think it's going to take too many workers when I could just buy it myself. But that would at least give me the option to move on to electricity. And whether electricity is necessary for a paper mill or a cotton mill, I don't remember. But I do know that if we can get coal power plants set up, we should be able to get ourselves massive amounts of upgrades for a lot of our nation. Remember that we are going to be able to get things like electric machinery on almost every producing building. So there's that. By the way, did we see... It looks to me like, yeah, we did get a small production boost, but I'm talking a very small production boost from the industrialization. Practically non-existent. Well, that's disappointing. But okay, I'm going to go ahead and end this video here, I believe. We are definitely making a lot more science. It doesn't show that as much here, although obviously I've boosted ourselves up by about 10,000 in this video. But what's really happening is every single time one of these finishes up, I'm just watching the little research bar take small little jumps. So We're definitely getting through tech faster. It's just taking a lot of money and manpower to make that work. And in the meantime, my population has grown so huge, I can't really keep up on our food. So we're either going to have to trade our way to victory, which is what I'm trying to do, or we need to figure out some sort of farming solution, and that might mean turning this huge area into one giant agricultural breadbasket and sending everything we've got back home. We'll consider that, but once again, that takes laborers that I don't really have. Ignore the 90 here, it's winter. Thank you all for watching, hope you enjoyed. If so, I'd ask you to hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time in Kingdoms Reborn.